In Finland, kids in nursery school are learning to discern between fake news and real news. Yeah. They should be teaching that in this country. Yes. Teach children tolerance, teach them to think critically.
Well, it would help if we could regulate social media, because one of the biggest offenders is D.C. and Congress have not been able to do one thing in regard to the rogue corporations of social media.
Roland made a really legitimate point here. I will say, you know, a lot of black men sometimes feel like they're ignored or they're put down, particularly sometimes even by black women in the media. So this is not that. But I do hear Roland's point that felt ignored. But you feel ignored and then you go over to the other side. The oppressed feel oppressed. So then you go and try to align with the oppressor. So I'm not putting black men down, but sometimes it's like, well, some of you Kevin Samuels following Tariq Nasheed quoting people, please look at the truth and see what's happening and get in line with some of the black women.
And we're going to talk about AOC and her attack on masculinity. But first, I want to stop and pat myself on the shoulder because I predicted this. You know, I remember the night that Trump won, and I said, they're going to blame men for this. And they're going to blame, hold on. Sorry, I had to sneeze. But they're going to blame men. And they're going to blame social media. And so I made a series of videos that you can find here on YouTube. Why men need their own spaces, male loneliness, Donald Trump. Donald Trump is proof that the manosphere is not dead. Jennifer Lewis crashes out on black men. Stacey Abrams says black men are misinformed. MSNB host blames Kevin Samuels and Tariq Nasheed for Democrats losing black men. And I said they're going to crack down on social media. You know, because they think that social media is the reason why they're losing the male vote, specifically the black male vote. And I made every one of these videos, I reference that. And again, you can check them out on my playlist. This is under the male vote playlist. You can check it out. But yeah, I've been warning about this, and I said they're going to do something. They're going to make some verbal attacks on social media, because young men are not listening to Democrats anymore. And we also saw that confirmed when Kamala Harris wrote her book. I know none of you read it. I didn't, and I'm not going to. But she argues that Andrew Tate was the reason why she lost. She said, I lost the support of young men because they're of interest of figures like Andrew Tate. You know, so you see them building this case against the internet and why they're losing men. It's not because their policies suck and they're out of touch. They're saying that social media and influencers like Tate are the reason why. So let's play the clip of AOC. First, let me read a caption first. Where are my manners? AOC, they are able to radicalize a generation of young boys in particular away from healthy masculinity and into an insecure masculinity that requires the domination of others who are poor, browner, darker, or a different gender than them. This is just gibberish, but let's play it.
And in
AOC is another one. She's cute as all get out. But man, is she's stupid. But she's not as masculine. I'll give her that. She is very feminine. Just an airhead, but she is feminine.
And it is clear to communicate that as an individual. Now, to the question earlier as well, when they talk about Republicans and their success online, they have been successful because they have also been very clear, especially digitally, about what they believe.
That much is true. Continuing. But no, let me say this right quickly. She's talking about the success of Republicans online. Republicans are not having success online. When you look at what's happening online, these are not Republican influencers. These are independent thought conservatives. Okay? You know, you talk about, you want to reference Andrew Tate and all the rest of them. They don't call themselves Republicans. They just advocate for men and what they feel is common sense. But they're not Republicans. You know, no one's pulling up to Lindsey Graham's podcast. You know, or no one's pulling up to watch JD Vance do a podcast. These are personalities, and they're not politicians.
That women are inferior, and they do not deserve equal rights.
That's BS. So right off the start, she's saying they're saying that women are inferior and do not deserve equal rights. So right off the bat, she's going with the hyperbole. She's making it seem like this is a dangerous place.
That they believe that LGBTQ Americans are subhuman.
No, they don't. What they don't believe is that men should not be in women's bathrooms. They don't believe that men in dresses should be reading stories to children. That those are discussions that parents should have with their children. Again, she's going on with the hyperbole here. But you have to remember, AOC is a bartender. That's what she did for a living before she got into politics. Serving drinks is her specialty, not thinking. So right now, she's just parroting back or regurgitating what's been fed to her by her handlers. But I give her credit. She is articulate. She's not making sense, but she looks cute while talking stupid. Continuing.
That they believe and are circulating disgusting racial and white messaging that they are able to get away with digitally and online.
They're able to get away with digitally and online. They're able to get away with. She's talking like it's criminal. So what she's really advocating for right now is a form of censorship. She doesn't want people like Andrew Tate or anyone else. She don't want people like me online giving my opinion. She wants to go back to the bad old days when we all just had to watch the news and the news told us what to think or tried to tell us what to think.
And they are able to radicalize and target and exploit a generation of young boys, in particular, away from healthy masculinity and into an insecure masculinity that requires the domination of others.
Okay, let me start right here. Number one, never listen to a woman explain to you what masculinity or what it means to be a man. She's speaking way out of her depths at this point. No woman has the right to speak on that issue under any circumstances. I don't care if she was raised with her father or in a house full of men with her brothers. You can't speak on that issue, young lady. Secondly, this whole idea that these people are being radicalized by online, that's BS. You see, progressives operate under this idea that people can't think for themselves, that somehow someone makes you have these thoughts, and that's bullcrap. And I talked about this in my Dr. Terabon video. Men are going online, young men, and they're watching influencers because that's the only space where you're having conversations on experiences and thoughts that men are having. Men are not being made to think these things. Men are already thinking these things. And they're attracted to these online personalities, not because they lead them, but because they articulate what they are. So when you talk about an Andrew Tate, for example, and the men that follow him, they see him as a representative, not a leader. He articulates what they already thought. You see, the internet is not a place of information, it's a place of confirmation. People go online to see if anyone already thinks like them, so they already have it on the inside. It wasn't artificially pumped into them. These were already their experiences. When I do these breakdowns of these movies that I do on Patreon, a lot of these movies were in the 90s. Yet you see all these what they call red pill or manosphere talking points and ideas in movies that came out in the 90s. That should tell you that men have had these problems for decades. They weren't given to us artificially by some online personality. We were already having these issues and we were already thinking this way. They're not radicalizing. Society has already radicalized us. And they've been doing it for decades, long before there was an internet or social media. This is 60 years in the making. You clown.
Who are poorer, browner, darker, or a different gender than them.
Now look at this audience, full of women, talking about what men need to be doing or what's happening online. Everybody in this audience is clueless. And you've got this sea of fools looking up to another fool on stage.
And that is why they are resonating online, because they are...
That's enough. Shut up. Now streaming on Patreon. Layman's Journal Chapter 271. If you've been following my content for a while now, you'd know I'm fascinated with human nature, specifically in regards to gender, and how differences in gender determine our behavior. But aside from gender, I also study group dynamics, and how they can influence human nature, and how the people we associate with largely determine the decisions we make. Because humans, just like cattle, wolves, and schools of fish, are pack animals, meaning we prefer to live and function within groups. That's why we live in cities, have circles of friends, and seek out relationships with the intent of creating families. And it isn't learned behavior, it's instinctual. Studies have shown babies, shortly after they're born, require human touch. Researchers don't know why, but physical touch in the form of affection plays a critical role in infant development and survival, which is why doctors, as soon as a child is born, lie them on their mother's chest, and why fathers often take off their shirts when holding their children for the first time. It's something about that skin-to-skin contact that helps a child thrive. But women, more so than men, need the group dynamic. They can't live without a pack environment. Men, on the other hand, are more like lions. We're born into a pack, and we enjoy the social familiar structure. But we have our bachelor years. It's a season in our lives where we, as men, have to go it alone. Like young male lions who come of age, we leave the pride of our families, move away from our parents' homes, get our own place, grow and establish ourselves as men. For the most part, we ignore women during that time, so we can hone our skills, chase the bag, and improve ourselves mentally and physically before returning to create our own pride or family. But not women. Women stay within packs. Many move out of their parents' homes like men, but they stay close to family and seek out social groups. They don't leave to go through seasons of isolation to self-improve. They focus their energy on maintaining or growing social bonds. Because women are the ultimate survivors. They don't have the strength that men have to survive in the wild, yet somehow they do it at higher rates than men, because they, more so than men, understand the concept of safety in numbers. They know there's protection and comfort within the group, and they will do anything to stay within said group. Even if the group is toxic, their desire to belong and fear of not fitting in supersedes the desire for righteousness if it requires being alone. This is why the overwhelming majority of cult members tend to be women, why social media personalities and pastors, in spite of being exposed on multiple occasions, still enjoy strong, loyal female followings. Because the women that follow them can't live outside of the group dynamic. And we see a great example of that in the film Set It Off. It's the story of a young woman, a beautiful young woman named Stoney, who joins a coven of chronically single black women on a bank robbing spree with deadly consequences. You've just seen a preview of my latest video, which you can watch now in its entirety, uncensored and without obstruction, exclusively on Patreon. Again, that's patreon.com/Layman's Journal. Hope to see you there. I'm out.